Guys, I have a very exciting video for you today because Hypex started a very interesting conversation on Fortnite's direction with the Metaverse and why people don't like it. I cannot wait because we had some very interesting replies over under that thread. I'm going to take a look at what a bunch of different people and creators had to say. I'm going to give my thoughts, and as always, guys, I'd love to know what you think about it in the comment section down below. Afterwards, we're going to get into that in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Sorry, still sound a little nasally. Don't know when I'm going to get over being sick, but regardless, let me bring you over to Hypex over here. This is what he had to say, and it sparked a very interesting conversation, okay? Genuinely curious, why is there so much hate on Fortnite's direction into the Metaverse? If it means more longevity, variety, and content in the game, and considering the fact that BR is still well funded and has gained even more content over the past year, plus, and UGC UEFN growing a lot too. Please don't be a tinfoil hat thinking Tim and Epic pays me to say this, and try to give some valid arguments instead. Sad that he has to say that, but of course, he does have to say this, and we're going to take a look at a bunch of replies over to it, guys. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get into it. Now, out of everything that Hypex talked about, or all of the threads under that, this was the top reply to it out of everything. Egyptianfortnite leaker had this to say. 1. For the last 11 months, they didn't change this boring ad loading screen. 2. The game is over 100 gigabytes because of games like Rocket Racing. I'm never going to play it, so let me uninstall it. 3. They removed cosmetic rarities for absolutely no reason. 4. Locker UI is the worst ever because of the game modes. 5. They wasted good storytelling in Season OG because that whole month was a big ad for the Metaverse. I hope the same doesn't happen for the next OG season. 6. Shops are now full of Lego, Rocket Racing, and festival stuff. Just make separate shops already. So I want to break this one down because I don't know if this is necessarily a really good argument against the Metaverse, okay? Because again, Battle Royale is still thriving. Now, not everything is hit throughout Chapter 5, but we're going to get into that conversation, okay? For the last 11 months, they didn't change the boring loading screen. I agree, they should change it, but that doesn't necessarily... Is that really a reason to complain about the Metaverse? At the end of the day, does it really matter when you're launching up the game and you're looking at the same loading screen? Yeah, it'd be nice to see something seasonal themed, but I don't understand the big deal. 2. The game is over 100 gigabytes because of games like Rocket Racing. Thin client is something that Epic Games is working on, and it's going to come out, and they are going to fix that. 3. They remove cosmetic rarities for absolutely no reason. Just like I was kind of talking about with the Metaverse loading screen, it's not a big deal. It really isn't, but I would like to see rarities return. I think the game was much more colorful, thriving. It was easier to find the cosmetics, right? I don't like the fact that they changed that, but at the end of the day, it's not really a reason to hate the Metaverse. It's not that big of a deal. 4. Locker UI is the worst ever because of the game modes. This I agree with. The Locker UI is borderline unacceptable as a player, okay? 5. They wasted good storytelling in Season OG because that whole month was a big ad for the Metaverse. Season OG was one of the most successful Fortnite seasons of all time, and I would argue that if you talk to the regular person, they would probably prefer to have things like Season OG. And I understand that you could take that and go, okay, that wasn't exactly part of the Metaverse, but it was their version of getting into the Metaverse. I kind of get where they're coming at over here. I understand that, but at the end of the day, you're taking one of the most successful things that Fortnite has ever done and kind of hating on the Metaverse because of it. I don't know if it's really worth comparing, but I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments down below because I might be wrong about that one, okay? 6. Shops are now full of Lego, Rocket Racing, festival stuff. Just make separate shops already. I agree with this. I think that the shop is ridiculous. It's too clunky. It's too cluttered. I don't understand why the shops aren't separate. The only thing that I can think of is that every once in a while, someone will look at something and go, okay, that is a cool car, and they'll buy it. I understand why it's all together. I don't think it should be. I don't think that... I think that's Epic Games chasing the profit just a little bit too much, but again... Is it really worth hitting on the Metaverse for? Your game is still intact. That's kind of where I'm coming from this sense. But let's continue on because there was a lot. There's a lot of people that wanted to pipe up and had their own thoughts to say. Fortnite Assist had this to say: there is no issue. If you're not a fan of other modes, don't play them. Just like you don't have to go play any creative maps that have been here all along. These are just experiences made by Epic. And if you only like BR, there's no concern of it losing support or funding. Arguably, BR is in a better state with content and updates these few seasons than it has been in a long time. Just look at this Fortnitemares, it shows that. Now, I'm sorry I butchered a little bit what it was saying there, but this is exactly true. There is nothing that was going wrong with Battle Royale. At the beginning, I understand the backlash. I get it, and this is what I've been saying the entire chapter, is that we're in the infancy with the Metaverse mode. You have to give them time to update this. Should they have been more prepared for the Metaverse launch? I do think so, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, Battle Royale is still okay. Everything's good. Just because, like, maybe the Chapter 5 updates haven't really been hitting the same for you, it doesn't change the fact that it has been just as much, if not more supported. We've had just as many updates. The updates are still getting bigger. Like, Battle Royale has not suffered at all. Now, if you want to take that and say, well, I don't like the Chapter 5 Battle Royale version, yeah, you know what, but you could chalk that up to attachments not being right. You could chalk that up to the gunplay, all the guns feeling the same, all of that kind of stuff, but it doesn't really change the fact that Battle Royale has been just as much supported as it has been throughout these past few years, okay? Aiko had this to say, and I swear, man, every single time that we look at something, has Aiko ever missed? Seriously, has Aiko ever missed? The issue many have is that it initially took away from a lot of other aspects, with a prime example being the removal of live events and the central focus on BR. However, that now seems like we're back on track and BR is back to live events and good seasonal events, Fortnitemares. I don't see a reason as to the hate. The only other issue now is the mess of a locker we have and the crowded discovery menu. Very well said by Aiko. Extremely well said. I completely agree with that. Like I just said, at the very beginning, I would understand the backlash in the metaverse, and I did understand the backlash in the metaverse. Did I disagree with it? Yeah, but do I understand where people are coming from? Also, yeah. Does that kind of make sense? But right now, everything's okay. I don't understand why we're still hating on the metaverse no matter what. To be honest with you, though, while we're on the topic, I do understand the backlash towards Disney because of all the things that Disney has gotten their fingers on and kind of ruined. I understand the worry for Disney coming into Fortnite and having their fingers on it. But for the metaverse in general, it objectively is a good thing for the game. What Hypex said at the beginning of the video is completely true. It means more experiences. It means that the longevity of Fortnite's still intact. Like, you can't just be the Battle Royale of Fortnite forever. I think this is a fantastic thing. It's not even just what I think. It is a good thing moving forward for Epic Games. Don't forget, even right now, they're still in their infancy. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get more smooth as time goes on. Hypex had another thing to say over here. I think the pre-December 2023 transition definitely affected Battle Royale, but now each Metaverse mode has its own external team working on it, and BR is doing just fine. And I'll say it again, I think that Epic Games should have had this from the very get-go of the Metaverse. External teams working on all of the brand new modes. To say that it's not right for Epic Games to take away from the live event team, I don't know whether or not that's okay to say, but I definitely would not have done that if I was in charge, and I think that Fortnite suffered a little bit because they did just that. But maybe, then again, could be Donald Mustard's fault. I know, but he did say that in the interview, and everything seemed to be okay before that, okay? But regardless, I do think that the external teams should have been a thing right from the beginning. But hey, you know what? Epic Games has really seemed to get on the ball with everything, okay? Clark Clint had this to say, I think the player base needs to learn patience. I will admit things look scary for a bit, but it was really Season 2 of this chapter that showed us a light at the end of the tunnel. Consistent updates, an LTM, decent storyline and story quests, a bigger live event than the previous season. This entire chapter has been one big crescendo of Fortnite culture. I'm thinking in Chapter 6 we'll have our full momentum back. And I've been very optimistic about Chapter 6 myself. It seems like Epic Games has really gotten back into the groove of things. My only worry, and this is what I've been saying the past couple weeks, is I worry that they're just making this season so good and so update-packed, storyline focused, is because it is a Disney season. They need to make sure that succeeds, kind of like the must-succeed LEGO project that they have. Regardless, though, even in Season 2, Season 3, Epic Games also learned a lot from this chapter. They've been sending out surveys like crazy, trying to figure out what the player base likes. They've been adding things like Fortnite Reload. They've been bringing back LTMs. Like, the mini live events have been grander and better as time goes on. Charlie Wen seems to be kicking off his storyline. I'm very optimistic for how Chapter 6 is going to be. Could you imagine if this all falls by my face, by the way? I don't think it will, though, to be honest with you. I'm very, very hopeful for not only Chapter 2 OG, but Chapter 6 in general. Wreck-It Will had this to say, it feels like they've been putting less effort into Battle Royale since the whole Metaverse launch. Example, bugs and glitches not being fixed, cheaters and zero build tournaments. But the problem is, first of all, it feels like they've been putting less effort in Battle Royale. That's just not true. They have been putting just as much effort. You could argue even a little bit more because of how fast the team has been. I don't know, and I could be wrong about this, okay? I feel like the team has been faster than ever when it comes to, like, okay, we need to hotfix blank, right? They've been doing that throughout the entire chapter. When it comes to bugs and glitches not being fixed, literally every game ever has had this issue, and Fortnite has had this issue since Chapter 1. When you have a game that updates and has so much content so frequently, this is absolutely going to happen. Should it happen? No, I would argue, though, that I think the bugs are some of the magic of old Fortnite that I think is completely overlooked, like just all of a sudden, like, getting stuck under the map or launching into the sky, finding out that somebody was hiding in an invisible rock. I think that sort of stuff is really cool. For the cheaters and tournaments, Epic Games has always been very good at handling those. They unfortunately happen. It's not a Fortnite problem. It's not a Metaverse problem. It's a live service game problem, okay? Let's continue on to Civil 439. My personal issue is that they have steered away from the big focus of the community, storyline, and events. Sure, there's a massive handful of people who enjoy LEGO, Festival, and etc. I'm among those players, but sacrificing the storyline, I wish they didn't sacrifice the storyline. And again, I've talked about this before. If I was in charge of Epic Games, to give this community who have been so dedicated to the storyline what they want, I would do that even if it meant to sacrifice a little bit of profit because again, hate to use this argument, Epic Games is a billion-dollar company. I would give them that to keep them happy, to be honest, because for the Fortnite storyline community, it's not difficult to make them happy. The Fortnite community, very difficult to make happy. The lore community, very easy to make happy. They're very wholesome and great people, okay? But at the end of the day, and I've always said this, I do understand why Epic Games no longer, or I don't even know if it's right to say no longer because we've been getting a good storyline lately, and we'll get into that in just a second, but it's such a small part of the player base. I understand if Epic Games were to actually ever abandon the storyline. Would I like it? Absolutely not. But I would understand it. Why? Like, if they were to take away people that were working on the storyline and the live events, I would understand that. Would I do that if I was Epic Games, if I was in charge? No, but I do understand their decision in that sense. Now, you could argue, though, this is the problem. This is what Hypex was talking about initially. Why hate on the Metaverse? This was happening ever since Donald Mustard left. This was happening since Chapter 3, Season 3, especially throughout Chapter 4. They've taken away from the storyline and live events. It's been near absent, to be honest with you. So is it the Metaverse's fault? Could be a part, but I don't know if it's necessarily something to blame the Metaverse on. After the Metaverse launched, of course, the storyline did suffer a little bit, and I would agree with you on that. But as time went on, and this is what I've been saying since the beginning of Chapter 5, you need to let Charlie Wen build the foundations for his storyline. You need to let him build his main character because Charlie Wen is a new creative director at Epic Games. You need to give him time. And now we have this really, really unique storyline to Fortnite, something that I'm personally very invested in, something that I'm personally very excited about. I think the lore community should be satisfied with what we've been getting so far. Do I miss the lore live events? Yeah, I do, but at the end of the day, I'm very happy with what the storyline has been growing to be throughout this entire chapter, and I only have hope for Chapter 6. I don't think that these live events are, this could age poorly, but I don't believe these upcoming live events or one live event is going to be storyline focused. I think if anything, we're just kind of gonna get a little bit of a small conclusion and then move on to an ad. But Chapter 6's story, I'm very excited for because Charlie Wen seems to be kicking it into gear, okay? Rylak had this to say: people think it will take away from VR. If it does, F the Metaverse. If it doesn't, then who cares? It's like when Zero Build came out. A lot of build players were mad for some reason, but it brought in a ton of new players and keeps a ton of new players playing. That means more money for Epic, and if the game gets better for everyone. And the game gets better for everyone. This was very well said by Rylak, and I'm shocked that it didn't get more likes than it did. Well, because it was a little too logical, you know? That's why. And if the Metaverse was taking away from Battle Royale, I'd be sitting here agreeing with everybody that I say I don't really disagree with the version that the Metaverse is taking, like this direction that they're taking the Metaverse with Fortnite, because this game is a Battle Royale, and you could, I know you're gonna hear, I'm here in the comments, it's gonna be save the world as a foundation, but Battle Royale is kind of the foundation of Fortnite. It's what made them big. It's what Fortnite is. It's a Battle Royale, okay? I understand where you're coming from if you start commenting about save the world, but I'm also correct, okay? We're both right. We're both right in what we're saying over here, okay? But if the Metaverse were to really crash down on Battle Royale, and Battle Royale kind of fizzled away, we didn't get any updates, I'd be over here hating on the Metaverse as well, to be honest with you. But it's not. And just like Rylak said, if it doesn't affect the Battle Royale, then who cares? More experiences for different players. Everybody is so selfishly focused on themselves. They don't even conceptualize the idea of like, okay, you know what? Yeah, LEGO does have an active player base, and that player base is only going to grow with time. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean that everybody else doesn't like something. I feel like I'm talking to kids whenever I talk about this, okay? JoJo Josiah had this to say: in its current state, the Metaverse is just a buzzword used to describe everything people individually dislike about the game. When they were developing the modes we got at the beginning of the chapter is the only time the game saw a decline in quality. Entirely true. That is exactly true what JoJo had to say. It is just a buzzword to describe everything people individually dislike about the game. You could hate a brand new weapon that came to Fortnite. Brand new weapon, chainsaw, for example. Everybody likes it. When somebody likes something, by the way, it's never because of the Metaverse. Fortnite Reload, I'm looking at you, okay? I've thought about it, by the way. And it absolutely is part of the metaverse, okay? I know that there's been a ton of you guys saying that it's not part of the metaverse. It is. I don't understand how it possibly can't be, okay? I'm not hating on anybody, don't get me wrong, but I got a lot of comments saying that Fortnite isn't part of the, or excuse me, Fortnite Reload isn't part of the metaverse. It absolutely is part of the metaverse. When something great like that comes out from the metaverse, all of a sudden, it's not, oh, the metaverse is great, this is an awesome addition to the metaverse, but as soon as some gun that people don't like comes out, oh, if it wasn't for the metaverse, man, this chainsaw could have been better. Chainsaw's a bad example because people like it, but take any new weapon that people kind of think is a little bit subpar. It's the metaverse's fault. Epic Games could have spent their time making a better weapon, but because of this metaverse, because Epic Games sold out, because Tim Sweeney hates everybody, we're getting this garbage in Battle Royale. The buzzword is used to describe anything they individually dislike. That was very well said by, again, both Rylek and JoJo Josiah, some of the best comments that we've taken a look at today. Let's continue on. A user by the name of Sloth Hannah had this to say: I notice a lot of people dislike changes with techie buzzwords, metaverse, AI, etc., without really understanding what it entails or how it'll be utilized. This might be the best reply. I have nothing to add about this because this is completely 100% true. I love this tweet, and I did reply to that saying that this is the best tweet under the thread, okay? Lolo had this to say: finally someone said it. If BR is doing well and gets a lot of content, what's the reason to hate the metaverse? And this was in reply to Rylek, and it's entirely true. If BR is doing well and gets a lot of content, what's the reason to hate the metaverse? I think that people, and again, I talk about this a lot, people just read what they hear and don't necessarily think for themselves. This isn't the vast majority. I mean, there's a good chunk of the population that does that, okay? I'm not saying you, viewer, does that, okay? Because especially over on this channel, we have a lot of nice, critically thinking people, and I appreciate it so much, guys. Loot Station had this to say about the entire situation: the metaverse was one of the best things ever. It brings so much more value and content to the game, and if you don't enjoy them, don't play it. It doesn't mean they're bad. Exactly. Again, just because you don't like something doesn't mean that everybody else also does not like that thing. I don't understand why I keep having to say that, but it must be said to the online part of this community, okay? I don't understand what the big deal is, too. And Battle Royale objectively hasn't suffered. Like, again, I will agree with you at the beginning of the chapter. I'm talking about right now. What's the point of hating on the metaverse and comparing it to Battle Royale? Because Battle Royale is doing just fine. I don't understand what the big deal is. If you don't like Lego, don't play Lego. Just like rocket racing for me. I don't like rocket racing, so I don't play it. I don't understand what the big deal is. It's just like we were talking about with the shoes update. Shoes are going to come to the shop. I won't buy shoes. That's the end of it for me. That's the end of my entire thoughts, okay? I will never understand it, guys. Jakey had this to say: at the start, it looked daunting to most, but Epic needed time to build up these extra modes. Now each mode has a decent balance of content, and in my opinion, Battle Royale has more content than it previously has had before. Just look at FORTNITE'S. Live events are back on track, story is picking up again, and we have consistent updates. Now that everything is established, it's just the same as it was before with extra modes, and in my opinion, are extremely fun as they give Fortnite as a whole much more variety. If you don't like the new modes, just don't play them, because BR is still the same with great content, and yes, there's been some interesting changes for BR during this chapter, but it's Fortnite, we've all been there before. I'm genuinely loving this metaverse direction as it's more content. As long as Battle Royale still gets continued love, which I'm sure it will, I don't see any issues. That last part, especially, I completely agree with. Battle Royale is going to continue to get the love that it's been getting. And it's important to note, too, you can't really draw the hate that you might have for some additions to Chapter 5 and blame that on the metaverse. Because, again, the attachments didn't hit. There's a lot that I really, really don't like about Chapter 5. But it's not because of the metaverse. I just don't personally like the gunplay. I don't like the realistic graphics. The graphics you could actually draw to the metaverse a little bit, but even then, is that really part of the gameplay? I'll give you the graphics on that one, okay? I'll give you the graphics because they're trying to make the game more corporate-ish, you know what I mean? And that could be a reason why the graphics kind of feel so dull in that sense. But at the end of the day, what Jakey said was absolutely correct, and I always love his optimistic approach to things. Tater had this to say: people think Disney are going to ruin the game like when we first heard of LEGO's investment into Fortnite, when in reality it only affect their mode and parts of the game. BR should have a focus when it's still getting the same amount of content as always. That's exactly it. BR is still getting the same amount of content. Now, I will disagree, and I do agree with the people really worried about Disney. There's been too much evidence of Disney touching things and getting their fingers wet and hurting them, okay? I worry about the future of Fortnite when it comes to Disney. I don't think that Disney is just going to stay in its little corner with its own mode. I don't think that's going to happen. But hopefully I'm wrong in that. I'm just saying I think that it's justified for people to be really worried about Disney, especially actually buying a little bit of Epic Games, especially because that would mean they have even more of a say. That's understandable, okay? Kiri Builds had this to say: the death of originality. Don't get me wrong, I love a good collab now and then, but it shouldn't overshadow what made Fortnite special in the first place, which it completely has. That's an interesting one, because I do think that Fortnite throughout Chapter 5 has gone a little bit too far with the collabs. For example, vaulting the Myths and Mortals items for the Avatar The Last Airbender collab. But Epic Games has been doing that stuff for a very, very long time now. Like, I think of the Mega theme. That's the only one that pops into mind off the top of my head. We didn't really get the Japanese theme. We got a Star Wars and Attack on Titan theme season. That was really fun. It just depends how fun the update is, whether or not people want to have outrage about it. I do think that Fortnite should have more original things coming up. But then again, just look at this Fortnitemares. Yeah, we had some great collabs, and that added to it, to be honest with you. But the foundation of Fortnitemares was still its own original Fortnite event, which was very nice to see. Wrecked was its own original Fortnite thing. Magneto ended up getting in, but Epic Games has always added those collab things. It's an interesting topic, and the death of originality is an interesting one, because I don't think that it died, but I do think that Epic Games does need to go back to being a little bit more original than they have been lately. I welcome collabs. I think collabs are great, but I think there has been parts of this chapter where collabs have overstepped its boundaries, and that's something that I would hope they would change throughout Chapter 6. Is that in correlation to the Metaverse? I guess you could say that. I think that's a fair point, to be honest with you. I think it's a very, very fair point. I'd love to know what you guys think about this one down below. Now, we do still have some very, very interesting things to talk about throughout this video, but I want to stop you for just a second because, guys, Chapter 2 OG is coming out and Chapter 6 is on its way. There's going to be new battle passes. There's going to be great things coming in the item shop. So I do want to ask, if you do not have a supporter creator code that you're using in the item shop already, please consider using code Clen. Just started a family. I'm trying to make as much money as I can to keep my wife at home, support her, let her and my kid live and have everything that they've ever wanted. So I'm working really, really hard on YouTube over here, and the boost in supporter creator codes being used has been really, really helping me, more so than you guys could imagine. So thank you very much to everybody who's using the code. If you do not have a code that you are using in the item shop, please consider using code Clen. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Let's continue on to the rest of the tweets over here. Jaws Claws Paws had this to say: yearly chapters and introducing collabs into the Fortnite storyline is what truly made the game feel less enjoyable. What's especially disappointing is when the story started to get good in Chapter 2 Season 7 to Chapter 3 Season 2, it ended abruptly and pivoted towards the Herald. This is the little bit of the issue, okay? There have been collabs within the Fortnite storyline for a very long time, and I didn't really like it. But what I really do miss is that storyline from Chapter 2 Season 7 to Chapter 3 Season 2. But the problem is, that's Donald Mustard's story. There's nothing we can do about that. Would you want Charlie 1 to continue Donald Mustard's story? That'd actually be an interesting topic for a video to get into that into another video, excuse me. But the story right now really is picking up. The storyline is very interesting. A lot of people have been invested in it throughout Chapter 5, and I think that people really need to let go of, okay, but this story isn't as good as Donald Mustard's storyline. I don't think it's nearly as good as Donald Mustard's storyline. I don't think it's nearly as good. But I also don't think that's fair to point to Charlie and go, hey, your story is not as good as Donald Mustard, because his story is still engaging, and his story is still in its infancy. I'm going to allow it to grow, and I'm going to enjoy it every single little step of the way. Do I miss Donald Mustard's story? Absolutely I do. But this isn't the Metaverse's fault. This is Donald Mustard's leaving fault. Okay, let's continue on to Vessel Returns. None of the Metaverse modes break 20k players, while BR regularly breaks 1 million a day. Players have zero interest in trash made for children. This is just, I mean, I don't know. I'm not updated on the LEGO Rocket Racing Festival numbers, but they're going to increase with time. They need more time, and I've talked about it throughout this entire video. They're still in their infancy. You need to allow them to grow, just like Battle Royale has had 8 years to grow. People do have interest in it. People will have interest in it. And just because it holds 20 players, assuming that this is correct, if a game mode is holding 20k players regularly, that is awesome. That is awesome. Why are we comparing it to Battle Royale? It's still all Fortnite. And what about all of the other discovery modes? Combine all of those together? I wonder if they match or even overtakes Battle Royale at some point. I don't know the answer to that. I have absolutely no clue. I've never really looked at the numbers in a long time. But they're only going to grow with time. There's only going to be new experiences, and what's the big deal? There was an interesting reply to this, because I did want to include that I really really liked about this, because there's a lot of comments like what Vessel wrote. Keep dreaming, bro. Half the players play BR related modes and the other half play the rest daily. Also, made for children. Do you feel more mature for only playing BR? I think what you feel is safety because nobody can mess with you while staying on the popular side. That's true. I'll never really understand like the okay, this is made for children argument, like because I like to play Zone Wars. Am I childish? Oh, sorry. You can go play with your Peely in Battle Royale. You can go use your Peely and your Nana dance over in the Battle Royale mode, but God forbid I go use it in some other Metaverse mode. God forbid I use one that's actually okay. If I want to play Nuketown, COD Nuketown over in the Metaverse mode, does that make me more childish just because you're playing Battle Royale? It's a ridiculous argument, and as soon as people start talking about like things being childish, it's just like the people who refuse to play Fortnite because it's a kid's game. Is it a kid's game or is it an all ages game? Are you just using the it's made for children type thing to boost your argument? It doesn't work. It's not the dig that people think it is, and quite frankly, it's ridiculous. I want to play my big boy game like Call of Duty. No, I play a real man's game. I play Call of Duty with my pink headset and my anime pillow behind me, and yeah, I'm so mature for playing Call of Duty. And just like the Ninja Club, I'm a 32-year-old grown man. I don't want to drive cars. I want to shoot things in my banana guff game. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's a game for all ages, man. I will never understand that. It's just a ridiculous argument. Let's continue on. ChiliK Dog had this to say: people are too nostalgia blinded to realize change is needed for something to continue to grow. They just complain about wanting all of the old stuff back 24/7. Extremely true. There's nothing to add about that. People are too nostalgia blinded to realize change is needed for something to continue to grow. Exactly. If we had the OG Fortnite, if you guys plopped the Season 2 map back on and just ran around with the slow movement, everything that Fortnite used to be, the game would die soon. That's exactly how it worked. There's a reason why Epic Games hasn't brought the OG map back permanently. Because believe me, if Epic Games could keep those same amount of players throughout the entirety of Fortnite, if they just left the OG map right there, Epic Games would absolutely do so. Guys, I'd love to know what you think about this entire conversation. Thank you so much for being here and watching. Speaking of Ninja being a grown man, why don't you check out the drama related to that old clip right here? I'd love to have you guys over there. Take care, everybody.